Start with food producer Tiger Brands saying it's bracing for a tough few months ahead with a 500 million rand loss in profits. This as the COVID-19 pandemic disrupts supply chains and hits consumer spending. Now, financial results for the 6 months to end March show a 2% rise in revenue to 15.7 billion rand for Tiger Brands, but profits were down 75% to 359 million rand from 1.4 billion rand previously. The makers of Albany Bread and Jungle Oats say the effect of the pandemic on consumer spending is expected to be dire, with government restrictions on price increases also being expected to weigh on its performance. Well, let's chat now to Tiger Brand CEO Noel Doyle for more on this. Noel, thanks very much indeed for talking to us. So really, when it comes to your reporting period, you caught the tail end of the lockdown period, catching the tail end of your results there. Even before the lockdown, Noel, you still had a very constrained environment, didn't you?
Yes, we did indeed. And that's reflected in sort of, if you back out the VAMP business, the challenges in getting volume and some inflation to sort of pass on the fairly significant cost pushes that we had before the rand depreciation and before the impact of COVID-19.
And then that figure that you're warning about, a 500 million rand expected loss in the months ahead, this is surely due to what's happening to consumers at the moment, the lockdown restrictions. You also have restrictions on some of your operations. So not a great 6 months ahead for you then?
Yeah, look, I think it's a challenging 6 months ahead for us, but, we've been in the fortunate position as an essential service to be able to trade right through the lockdown period. And the 500 million is a sort of incremental cost specific to COVID-19. So it's not that we're anticipating to make an absolute loss in the period. And if you look at that, half the costs are really related to sort of compliance and the few businesses that we were not able to trade in through the lockdown period, our pest care business and our malt and beer powder business. And then the balance is really, as a result of the regulations. And I just want to make the point in terms of the pricing regulations. The regulations allow for you to push through sort of direct cost push, which is pretty reasonable. Our challenge is that our reference period was a low profit reference period, and therefore in recovering costs from previous periods, it's not possible to do that while the regulations are in place.
Bearing in mind you have that, but you also have to contend with this changing in consumer behavior. Now, you've got a few brands under your belt, but we are told by other retailers, Noel, that there's a change in what people are buying over the past few weeks. And looking forward, this might stay that way, perhaps no brand items, if you like. So that's another thing you've got to consider as you look forward.
No, absolutely. We have to plan for a business where either we're going to continue with the level of price premiums and take a volume reduction, or we're going to have to find the sweet spot where we've taken our premium to a level that a very stressed consumer will be able to afford, and at the same time get the kind of volume efficiencies that we need to hit the right price points in the factory. So it's a very fine tightrope we're going to walk for the next 6 months, and we're just going to have to focus very, very rigorously and very toughly on cost to bring that price down to the consumer.
No, before I let you go, what sort of consumer are you looking at? I mean, yeah, you have interest rates going down, but many of the consumers who don't have debt or have a home loan, this means very little to them. And then you also have people losing their jobs, walking into stores, not buying your items. What's the consumer looking like ahead for you?
Yeah, I think the consumer, and particularly our consumer, we kind of targeted quite squarely at the mid-market, so kind of from unionized blue-collar workers sort of all the way up to sort of, the top end of the middle class. That's our sweet spot. And those are people that I think we can expect to be dramatically impacted. And that's why, value is going to be key for us going forward in trying to match what we offer with where the consumer is. There's going to be less employment. I say as the lockdowns ease, for us, there's going to be less money being dispersed across a wider range of categories. So in many ways, the last couple of months have been a bit of a false demand level, because whatever money is out there hasn't really had too many other outlets to go and spend it. So we're going to have to compete very aggressively for our share of a diminished consumer pool.
Noel Doyle, CEO of Tiger Brands, thanks very much indeed for talking to us.